Most of the beaches in California are losing their beaches.
So you guys added a lot of...
We added a lot, almost 110,000 cubic yards of sand.
So this is where you had volleyball courts before, right?
Right in there, yeah. So all this was a parking lot that just fell. All right.
Okay. Yeah, that's it. And are these homes kind of under pressure or red tagged?
That's the house that has to get taken down.
So the sand is getting washed over time from the beach into the ocean.
Yeah, that's what happens, yeah. And we've also lost the beach that protects the rail tracks. The track closure, it costs about $1 million a day. The OCTA came and put all these rocks here in order to protect their tracks.
If you guys don't do anything about replenishing this sand,
Right.
it will all look like this.
All of it.
Is there a solution to this? My guests today are Victor Cabral, Mayor of San Clemente, and Jayme Timberlake, geologist and coastal zone administrator for the city of Oceanside, as well as Assemblymember Laurie Davies.
A lot of people don't realize the economic impact that it has.
In this episode, we'll explore the factors behind the erosion of California's beaches and what it takes to bring them back to life. I'm Siyamak. Welcome to California Insider. Victor, it's great to have you on. Welcome.
Thank you for inviting me. It's my pleasure.
You know, Victor, we have this problem in California with some of the beaches are essentially getting eroded to the point of disappearing. You're the mayor of San Clemente, and your community, you guys have faced some of that. Can you tell us what's going on?
Yes. So over the past 40 years, we've lost probably 75% of the beaches that we used to have. And most of that is due to the fact that there's not a natural replenishment of the beaches. All the rivers and the creeks that used to run with sand and replenish the beaches got cemented up, and we put houses in there. So there's not a natural replenishment. And as a result of that, the beaches are dying off in San Clemente and other beaches all across California. This is one area of North Beach where the sand was, how it existed. And you can see it's a rather significant amount of sand, and the date's on there.
It's 2008.
2008. And this is a current photo of that same beach. And you can see the impact on the tracks and the loss of sand. That revetment, or those rocks, were placed there this year in order to protect those tracks, because they were actually closed for several months because the water, even in this photo you could see, is...
The water is almost hitting the train.
Well, it did hit the trains. And so at a certain point in time, it was decided, well, it's not safe. And so they had to put these rocks down in order to protect those. But you can see, in contrast, the beach there, it protects, that sand there protects those tracks even better than those revetment or rocks. That's one area of San Clemente. Another area, I guess, is our pier area. And you can see we had very little beach. You could see there's a tiny little beach there, but not really much for recreational purposes. And then we restored beaches with the Army Corps of Engineers in a project. And
this is where you hold your surf competitions, right? This is your surfing
actually,
spot.
This is where the pier is, and this is where people come to just lay out, sit on the beach, enjoy the 4th of July or a concert. All the shops are down there. People come, they spend money, they enjoy themselves there. Here's another area, a residential community. This is North Beach area of our city. There was nothing but rocks there originally.
And you guys restored them.
And we restored this. We had a project to restore, to put 30,000 cubic yards. And now you could see that there's sand and there's people. That was taken pretty much from the same location. I think this is pretty much the same area there where we used to have rocks and now we have sand. Those are a couple of the projects that we have going on in San Clemente to restore the beaches and to protect the infrastructure there, the tracks.
So what you're mentioning is that because of the development, so the rivers are not doing what they used to do.
What they're doing naturally, yeah.
They would do. Can you explain that more?
Yeah, well, we used to have creeks that used to run through San Clemente that would naturally replenish the beaches. We used to have creeks that would move the sand, because a lot of the area in this area of Orange County is sand below the Capistrano hardpack. But when you build houses and you build communities throughout Orange County. You cement all and you pave the streets, and even in San Clemente, we don't have any natural creeks running through it anymore. We have nothing but paved roads and cement structures that moves some of the water. So we don't get any natural replenishment, and that natural replenishment is essential for our beaches.
So the sand is getting washed over time from the beach into the ocean. Is that what's happening?
That's what happens, yeah.
And when you guys put rocks in front of the sand, does that help it?
It keeps the big waves from hitting the tracks. But our theory, and what we know and what we've been told by experts from the University of California, Irvine, is that if we had a beach in front of those rocks, that would cause the breaks to be so much further out, even 100 feet, 200 feet out, so they wouldn't break against the rocks. The rocks, unfortunately, scour the sand and they drag the sand out to sea. It's just because of the weight of the rocks. The concept is that, like, if you stand in the waves and you just stand there and you move your feet a little bit with your weight, you'll see the sand move out from underneath your feet and you'll start sinking. It's the same with the rocks. The rocks have so much pressure on the sand that the sand around it just moves out to sea. And that's one of the problems with just having revetment. That's why we need a natural beach in front of that revetment to further protect those infrastructure.
Now, what's the impact of these beaches on your city? You mentioned 75%. Yeah. What's the impact?
Well, the impact is significant. If you lose your beaches, you lose tourism. Orange County is a tourist destination for the world, actually. They come here to Disneyland, but they also come to the beaches. And in our case, our businesses there lose. But in addition to that, the property values in a beach community are significantly higher. So the value of housing in San Clemente is probably about 30% higher than somewhere outside of a beach community, just because of the fact that you have a beach. So having a beach community is good for commerce, it's good for entertainment, and it's good for the residents of the community.
You have a rail track
Yes.
going through your city, and you had some erosion that caused the rail track to stop, the trains to stop functioning, right?
The rail tracks, which have been there forever in San Clemente, run along the beach and below the bluffs. So we've had some bluffs that are eroding, and we've also lost the beach that protects the rail tracks. So the rails are important to commerce in California. They're also the connection point for national security protection, because we have a base south of us, a Marine Corps base, and those tracks are essential to movement of troops and other activities, so products if we ever needed it. But it's also a movement of employees that have to get from LA to San Diego and vice versa.
And they were closed for some amount of time. Can you tell us what happened and how long?
Yeah, the tracks we estimate were closed for about 300 days over the past several years. And that's expensive because the track closure, as we understand it, costs about $1 million a day.
And your community, you guys had to red tag some homes, right?
We did. There's several for two reasons. One, we had a fault line that fell because when you have so much water coming up against those tracks, it saturates underneath those tracks and underneath those rocks. And then that moved what we believe some of the area where there was a natural predisposed to break up there. Also the bluffs, when the water gets underneath the tracks, it also affects the stability of the...
And the homes are on top of, a lot of these homes are on top of these bluffs, right?
A lot of the homes, all along the coastline, they're on top of bluffs in San Clemente. We're at Cypress Shores right now. It's an area where the tracks were closed for several months also. They had to put riffraff there, rocks, in order to protect this whole area because this whole area was slipping. So all this was a parking lot that just fell. And
so this part fell.
All this fell.
This was like 17 or so parking spots.
Wow.
And it just collapsed. Now you can see what they've
Collapsed
done.
down there, right?
Yeah, you can see what the railroad has done is they have just put rocks. That used to be a big beach. There is no more beach in that area.
All right, I'll have to show you how you do it.
If you're brave enough.
So this whole thing fell.
Yeah.
Be careful. And don't step on it right there. You just step on it. Keep your foot up here.
Okay.
And just swing. Now swing your foot over onto the heavy part. There you go. You got it.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah, that's it.
So the beach used to go out.
Oh,
and
yeah.
now the beach is gone.
It's gone. It's on the rocks now.
And this fell. This parking lot fell into the.
It dropped down about 6 feet.
Yeah. And part of that, in theory, the experts tell us, is that when you have the water coming underneath, it saturates, and then the weight just makes it collapse. That's why it's important to have a beach, because you have a beach, the water doesn't come and saturate, it stays out a ways.
And are these homes kind of under pressure or red tagged, or they're?
The house right here where you see that kind of rusted roof, that's the house that has to get taken down.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. She gets to keep the main house, which is what they're going to remodel, but this house here has to come down. And then they'll find out. And then this lot here where the tractors, that's another home lot that was never built on.
This is low tide because in
It
high
comes out
tide,
here?
watch your head.
Oh, okay.
In high tide, the
See
water.
where the handle is? This is where you would normally hold on to walk through here. That's
Wow.
how the sand is in here.
Because the sand is pushed.
Right.
So you could take a look over here.
So this is where you had volleyball courts before,
Right
right?
in there, yeah. And she can show
How
you.
long ago was it?
This was 3 years ago.
You had volleyball courts here.
Volleyball courts right there, yeah. The other problem you see, this is a real problem with the revetment that they put down, is that if you've ever stood in water in the rocks, or just stood there and you stand in the sand, the pressure will bring all the sand out. You know, you
creates
touch
more
it,
pressure.
it creates more pressure and it throws the sand out. So it
So this
protects
kind
the
of
tracks.
rocks doesn't help.
It helps protect the tracks, but it also takes away all the sand. That project is an OCTA because the OCTA came and put all these rocks here in order to protect their tracks. And the California Coastal Commission has said, okay, this is fine on an emergency basis, but you have to restore the beach to the condition that it was originally. And so that's part of their remediation. They have to, and we're working with them to figure out a plan to restore the beaches and how much it will be and when it will take place. And we're hoping it'll happen soon.
We also decided to go to Oceanside to see what's happening in San Diego beaches.
So Jayme,
Yeah.
can you tell us what's happening with the coastal erosion? We are in Oceanside and you have been watching, observing this.
In a lot of Southern California, there's been a lot of development. It's a very desirable place to live, and so we have a lot of things that we do to change the coastal area to accommodate us moving in. So that means, you know, we pave over places that should have been beach sand, like the Strand, like we're walking on now. This would have been a beach, but it's paved over to accommodate getting to people's homes, getting to parks, having an access way. So everywhere in Orange County, everywhere in LA County on the coast, similar conditions of like, we've kind of encroached into these spaces that would have naturally been beaches, which is a natural buffer between the ocean and the built environment. But as we build further and further on the coast, we get closer to the ocean and the ocean gets closer to us. So other places that have done similar things in their rivers, like flood control, LA River is now trying to mitigate that and restore some of the LA River because they've paved it, for many, many decades. It's been paved for flood control purposes, but now they're kind of rethinking how they're managing their systems a little bit better. And actually every jurisdiction is trying to kind of rethink that. The state helps with that a little bit as well. But definitely other places are experiencing similar loss of sediment sand source for their beaches.
Now, how serious is this? Like if you were to tell Californians about this, how serious is this issue?
In Southern California, throughout LA, Orange County, and San Diego County, I have continuously heard that there is a sediment supply issue, that we have built so much in this coastal zone that we've really cut off those natural sediment supplies, and therefore we are all trying to find different sources of sediment. Sediment on a beach, it's a kind of a non-structural way of preventing the ocean from overtaking your infrastructure. And it's also a huge part of our beach economy. And so, it's a really desirable thing to have beaches, really desirable. If anyone who's ever walked down a cobble berm to get to the ocean, they'll say that as well, that it's not very much fun to put your beach towel on cobble and walk into the ocean that way. So there's many reasons why we're trying to find these sources of sediment and bring them back to the beach. So there's like a number of places you can get sand so that you can replenish your beaches with. So this is a natural cobble berm. I, for one, love cobble, and I am grateful for this cobble berm, because what this cobble berm does is it prevents the ocean from encroaching onto the strand and onto these homes and onto this public park. So the cobble berm is natural. The cobble has been here for millions of years, but it's just becoming more and more uncovered as the sand slowly disappears. It's the heavier sand particle, and so it sticks around longer than the finer beach sand.
If you guys don't do anything about replenishing this sand,
Right.
it will all look like this.
All of it. And in the winter, if you came back here, you would see an even bigger cobble berm here that goes all the way to the ocean, to where the ocean hits it. The dangerous part about having cobble is how close the homes are and how close all this access is to get to the coast, because when we do have high tides, high wave conditions, this cobble can get picked up and flung onto the road. And it is something that it does become dangerous. Yeah, it really does become dangerous. Sometimes we'll actually close the strand to make sure that people are staying safe and that cars aren't getting hit by cobble as the waves kind of come up. Like I said, right now you're kind of seeing abnormally wide beaches here in Oceanside. And that's from that calm summer and also from the nourishment efforts that we've done. But when it's winter and the water's way up here,
already.
Yeah, there hasn't been a beach here for many, many years. And that's because of this constant need to actually bring sand from somewhere else and put it here. We have to do that. And without doing that, these are the conditions that we're going to be in. It's really important to recognize how much we have encroached on the beaches and on the coastal zone and on these natural processes. And it's important to recognize it because there are measures that coastal managers and cities need to take to bring beaches back. And that's a trade-off, because sometimes people don't understand that these natural conditions, natural processes have been so interrupted that it's not going to come back without a lot of help and a lot of give and take. Oftentimes people are like, why do we have to have dredging offshore and bring sand back? And I explain this whole process, but the problem is that all these management efforts do take up space on the coast. They do cause impacts to the coast somewhat, meaning that they're going to interrupt events. It's going to interrupt traffic, use of the space, surfing, surf events, all those things. It's a give and take, but the trade-off is we could have a beach. We can get beaches back. We can go offshore and find sand. We can go onshore and find sand and bring it to the beach. We can do these management tactics, but we have to have the community be okay with these trade-offs and let us do some of that coastal management work.
Is there a solution to this?
There are many solutions. There's a short-term, mid-term, long-term solution. Short-term, we want to try and find as much sand as we can in different places and be efficient with that as possible. So get sand offshore, get sand from onshore, bring that sand to the beach, and that's a short-term fix. Mid-term fixes are more like how can we do these types of programmatic beach nourishment projects over and over every 5 years, get a cycle going where we're doing it every 5 years. In fact, in Oceanside, we're doing something called Re-Beach Oceanside, and it's building an artificial reef to try and retain some of that sand, so lessen the amount of erosion that happens. When we put the sand on the beach, then we can keep it around a little bit longer with some of these more innovative tactics like an artificial reef. But like long-term solutions are, think about how we can free up some of this, these natural sediment sources. Can we eliminate some of this flood control, and can we bring back some of our river systems, make them more natural so that there's a natural erosion process happening and bringing that sand naturally back to our beaches. And those are the things, those are kind of real long-term things, but they are being considered. We are doing dam removal in rivers. Up in Ventura, they're doing that right now. And we are considering different types of habitat restoration that allows for kind of bring back some of those natural processes, long-term fixes to coastal erosion issues. We know we need to do it because we absolutely cannot do nothing. That's the condition we've been in now, is doing nothing, and it's gotten us to cobble. So we do need to do something, but how would you like it done? And we're asking both the community and city council to make these tough decisions.
We are honored to be sponsored by Shenyun. I've been attending Shenyun performances every year as they change the choreography and music. Shenyun takes you back in time to the magical world of ancient China with unique blend of brilliant dancing, beautiful costumes, and legends coming to life. Overall, it's a very meaningful performance with a lot more than just entertainment to offer. Make sure to go see it this year. Go to shenyun.com and book your tickets today. I highly recommend it.
People nowadays go to the doctors, the psychiatrists for pills, for antidepressants. This is the antidepressant, the best.
I knew it was going to be good. It's a billion times better than I even thought it would be.
I'd heard people say, you don't want to miss this, and I would fully agree.
I'm going to tell everyone to come see it. You have to.
Definitely going to come back next year.
Totally inspirational. You have to go see this.
It's a once-in-a-lifetime must-see that will change their lives forever.
What's the cost of bringing the sand there?
It's significant. Restoring beaches is expensive. I will say that. And I will also say that, and I'll tell you a little bit about the price, we estimate to restore our beaches to their natural condition that they were 40 years ago will cost about $10 million a year to the city over the next 30 years. So it's a rather...
To keep them at that size.
To keep them at that size. Well, no, to expand them to where they should be.
And then keep them at those sizes.
And maintain them, yeah.
Maintain them.
What I will also say is that cities have never been doing this. That is, we know infrastructure. We do our roads, we have budgets for our sewer, we have budgets for our water. Every year we spend millions of dollars on that kind of infrastructure. We've never dedicated any money to the beaches and that infrastructure. And so it's new to us. When we started looking at this, we started saying, we need to have money to do this, and we don't. So one of the things we did this year, we have a Measure BB in San Clemente that's asking the residents whether they want to support funding the restoration of their beaches and their beach infrastructure. And it would be about half a cent increase on their tax bill for
their sales tax.
Sales tax, yeah. We calculate it'll cost the average resident about $8 a month to have these beaches.
And what about California? What about the rest of California? Is the state doing much about this?
There's a couple of cities that have taken it upon themselves. Everybody is asking, the federal government for help, particularly in areas where there is rail that need to be protected. But I would say that most of the beaches in California are losing their beaches, and they will eventually have to decide that if they want to be a beach community, they're going to have to restore their beaches and bring in sand. And in fact, I could show you right over here another project that just failed because of the water coming so close to the ocean. What happens is that the water gets underneath, and it creates a wetland underneath, and then the bluffs here failed. Here, I was just going to point out, you can see how little beach we had right
You had
in
that
this
much,
area.
right?
So the water used to come frequently all the way up here. And when it comes up this high, it also saturates the land below. And that
then it
land
hits the blocks.
becomes weakened. And that was one of the contributing factors we thought to this failure. So that wall there is, those are screwed into probably 50, 60, 70 feet into the bedrock. So it's not gonna move.
To protect
Yeah.
So you guys added a lot of
We did.
sand.
Yeah, we added a lot. Almost 110,000 cubic yards of sand in this area here from T Street to Mariposa Bridge. And you can see it's not only to protect the beaches, it's also to create recreational opportunities for people.
How much did it
Protect them.
cost to fix this?
This was an Army Corps project. It's a 50-year project. I think this time we contributed about $9 million to this, but the federal government contributed significant more money into this. It's going to cost about $2.5 million a year in order to keep this project going for the next 40 years.
Same distance.
No, we actually want to go further out.
Okay.
50 years, it'll go further out. It'll probably go out to where that first waves break.
And this sand, where did you guys get the sand from?
This was dredged out in the ocean, probably about a mile out, brought about 15 miles by barge, and then pumped onto the beach here. This is one project for the Army Corps. We have a second project, as I mentioned, in North Beach. That sand was brought from the Santa Ana River, and we brought that in by truck.
We sat down with Assemblymember Laurie Davies, who has been working hard on getting the state to support the local beaches. Laurie, it's great to have you on back.
Thank you. It's great to be here again.
Can you tell us what's going on in the state with erosion?
Absolutely. Coastal erosion definitely is a major, major issue, especially around the coastal cities, from south to north. And a lot of people don't realize the economic impact that it has, not only on those cities or the county, but it does with the state. Now, my district has Dana Point, San Clemente, San Juan Capistrano, Oceanside. These are major tourist cities. And so a lot of the revenue comes from TOT tax. It comes from
the hotels and the beach.
Right, exactly. Retail, hotels, hospitality. And if you don't have beaches, because with coastal erosion, what's happening is taking our sand away. And so if you don't have beaches, you don't have people that want to stay there. They're going to go to a place where the beach is so they can leave their hotel and walk out in the sand, put the towel down, have the family, and enjoy the beach itself. So it's very important, and we are losing our beaches. So one of the main issues with that is getting funding for it, as well as making sure that we're doing the right thing. And so what I've been doing is, as an assembly member, my job is policy up there. And so what I did is I sat down with different organizations such as Save Our Beaches, Save Oceanside Sand, but I also sat down with the top geologists because they really understand why this is happening. And I'm like, as a legislator, what kind of work can we do in our policy to help you and also help save our beaches? I had two bills that have been passed just recently. Number one is they said, there are grants that will come, but when you get a grant, sometimes you don't get that grant until the end of the year, so it can take a while. And you want to start that project sooner than later. So what this will do is if you are approved for a state grant, you will automatically get 25% of that funding up front. So you can start the design, you can start the project, and you can get it moving. Obviously, the sooner we start it, the sooner we're going to get it done, but we're also going to be saving more sand. And so that is law now, which is great. Another issue was you work with the Coastal Commission. They have a lot of different permits they're looking at, or a lot of approvals, but they don't always have the experience there, especially when it comes to a geologist, or perhaps they're looking at a permit or an approval to have something developed. They need to have that expertise. So now the use of using an expertise such as a geologist or perhaps a developer, someone that actually knows and has worked and has experience, they can use them for getting their information so they can make a good, clear decision because they haven't always had that. So that passed as well. So we're really happy on that. So it's really important to me in our district that coastal erosion, that people understand that, because what happens is if we don't have that revenue going into the cities, then it's not going to the main places such as public safety and infrastructure, and that's where most of the revenue is put into the local cities. Also, that revenue won't be going to the counties, and it won't be going to the state. So what happens is if you have a city that is having problems, basically having revenue, they're going to have to go to the state for bailout or help. That is then funding that is taking away from other cities, other districts that have other issues, such as Central California, where you have, the drought. They have water issues. Northern California has their issues. So it does affect every district in the entire state when we have issues like this. And coastal erosion has actually kind of hit its peak. And it's really important that people understand throughout the state. And that's what I did with the legislators. I belong to a group called the Problem Solvers. It's a bipartisan group of both parties, Assembly and Senate, both floors. And we were able to bring them down here because I realized they don't really understand the issue if they don't have to live it, just like we may not understand the issues that they're dealing with. When people are informed, they can make good decisions. And so we brought 30 of them down. We put them on 3 harbor patrol boats. We had geologists on every boat. We were able to take them down by San Clemente, show them that, number one, where we have houses red tagged. They're red tagged because literally there used to be volleyball area, basketball courts. Now there is no beach whatsoever. The waves are going right up to the cliffs, which is then little by little eroding. And so these homes, I doubt very much they're going to be able to do much because there just isn't much at this point you can do. And so showing them that effect and the cost, not to mention Lausanne Rail is the rail that goes from San Luis Obispo all the way down into San Diego. Billions of dollars go through that, the trades and goods that we have going over there. And all we have is the 5 freeways, so there isn't a lot of other options of getting it there. You also, though, have national security with Camp Pendleton there. You have commuters going back and forth, and you have the tourism. And so that rail was shut down almost 10 months a year ago.
Because of erosion,
because of the waves are actually now hitting the rocks and going up onto the rail. So we have all these issues that are affecting the economy, and that's really why, bringing that to people's attention and then having the opportunity to bring other electeds throughout the state down. When they left, they're like, if I wouldn't have seen it, I wouldn't have understood it. And now I understand why it's so important that we do help pass good policy that is going to give you the tools that you need and your district needs, as well as others, to hopefully stop this. And there is one other big important part. 30% of the sand we're losing is because of development. And many, many years ago, before you would have sediment coming from rivers and streams from inland coming out and then coming back in. That was producing sand as well. But with environmental policy made many years ago, they said, no, we're going to dam it up. We don't want that, as they were calling it, toxic sediment through. So that's something that actually can be done, and that's something that I'm working on right now. You can talk to Scripps, you can talk to UCI, and they understand. But these were laws that were made so long ago. We have come up with so much more technology of making sure we have clean sediment, and that looking on policy, how do we turn that so that we can get that sediment coming out, making sure that it's safe and it's clean.
And it's naturally
It's natural, right, but making sure that it is safe, that's something I'm working on right now. So for me, it's coming up with common sense solutions that are going to actually make a huge difference from now on. And that's what we're doing. So
now, in terms of the homes that are in those areas and the infrastructure, how serious is this issue? Like, is it going to impact more homes, you think?
It could easily, because it's going to continue going back until we can, make sure that we do have sand on the beach, which is one of the big solutions of stopping the coastal erosion. But also, there are different techniques. and Oceanside, which I represent. They did a contest and they put it out worldwide and said, come up with a way, because they're dealing with that as well. And there are things you can put reefs, out there that are like fake reefs that would stop the flow constantly coming this way. There's different ways that we can do it. For over here, say San Clemente may not work for what's working in Oceanside, so you have to be very careful. But they ended up with a company that's doing a project, which I would recommend check out, because it's exciting to see what they're doing, but to solve the problem. They've been using this in, I think it's Australia, for some time, the project that they're putting through right now. But it's really just never stopping. But right now, basically the Band-Aid is making sure that we have sand replenishment. For me, it's always making sure the information is out there. In order to get people that want to help you with your cause, you have to make sure they understand, how it's going to affect them and the passion behind it. Our area is an icon. We're known for the surfers, the top surfing contests. We've got the top surfing professionals coming out of San Clemente. We don't want to lose this because, again, that's revenue that comes in there with some of the top surfing contests. So, we just want to make sure that we can hopefully work on more and more things that are going to not only keep the tourism coming, but also stop the erosion where the homes are, and just make it, keep it the Southern California that we know.
Laurie Davies, Assemblywoman from California. It was great to have you in California Insider.
Thank you again. I really appreciate the opportunity. Thanks.